I'm so stoked. This was so much work. Between all of the planning and all of the pre-wiring and all the money, this was crazy expensive. I turned it on, no sparks, no fires. Oh my god. I just turned the system on. That was both terrifying and so exciting. Let's go. The power works.
So I'm getting close to finishing this entire system here. And I also got kind of a steampunk vibe on the outside. Alright, I'm about to turn this on. I'm stressing. So the idea with these lights is once I pull the awning out, I'll have some outdoor light. Part of the reason why I wanted to build such a big electrical system was exactly for this reason. So I could just run Starlink and work remotely off-grid for a long time. It's around 200 Mbps download, but it's fast. I mean, wherever I skip, this is very fast internet. That's dope. I just finished creating a design for the enclosure for the electrical system. I'm going to use Baltic birch plywood to create this box for the system, where I'm going to mount 2 battleborn GC3 batteries. I'll have a master disconnect switch on the outside. I'm planning to use, this layout may change, but my plan is to have a links distributor to distribute the power, an MPPT Victron charge controller to manage charging from the solar panels, a Orion DC to DC charger that will interface with the battery and the alternator of the van to also charge the batteries, a solar isolator switch to disconnect or reconnect the power from the solar panels, a multi-plus 3000 watt inverter, and this will turn 12 volt DC power into 120 volt AC power to distribute throughout the branch circuits. And then I'm going to have my distribution boxes, so a 120 volt AC distribution box and a 12 volt DC distribution box, one on the driver's side and a secondary one on the passenger side. Additionally, I'm going to have inlets for cool air and hot air to flow through the box, and inlets for wires and branch circuit cables to come into the box, and ground and shore power to go out of the box. So I kind of looked up all the dimensions of these components, fit them inside this box, and then I created a kind of high fidelity 3D model of this design. And what's cool in SketchUp, there's this plugin called Open Cut List, where you can turn each of your components into each of your parts into what's called a component in SketchUp. And then you can use that to create an optimized cut list. And so what I have here is the optimum cut list based on each of these parts to build this box using my plywood, my 4 foot by 8 foot plywood sheets. So I'm pretty stoked. It was a really cool process to learn more about how to 3D model and get a better idea of actually what I'm going to build. This project is so much about planning, like 90% planning, 10% building. Maybe that's why it's going so slowly, but that's at least how I'm approaching it. Let's get started.
canto por ti. Tú no respondes, luna, te perdí por otra mujer.
I just got the second fuse block installed. So I got a passenger side fuse block up here. And I took a while to figure out exactly how I was going to do this because I didn't want to wait until I put a wall up on the passenger side to do all this wiring. There's so many wires back here. So instead I just did a little cutout, kind of to match the size of the fuse block. And then my plan is once I put the actual wall up, I'll put the wall around this fuse block. So I got this all wired in, and the two big 4-gauge wires just barely fit, but that actually worked out. I was really worried about that. So in terms of progress on the main electrical system, I have Link's distributor bus bar. I got the solar panel charge controller wired up with a solar isolator. I've installed the 3000 watt inverter charger, and I've wired that all up with the shore power plug coming in at this side. And then I've also wired in a 120 volt breaker box with the main breaker switch and breaker 120 volt circuits, and then the driver's side 12 volt fuse block. So these are all wired in as well. And I've started to construct the electrical enclosure box. This big open space here is hopefully going to fit the batteries. That's the plan. If they don't fit, it's gonna suck.
Por otra mujer, por otra mujer, por otra mujer. Todas mis culpas y todos mis delitos. No quiero aceptar que todo acabará. Luna de noche, canto por ti. Tú no respondes, luna, te perdí por otra mujer. Por otra mujer. No, 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 por otra mujer. Otra mujer. Todas mis culpas y todos mis delitos. No quiero aceptar que todo acabará por otra mujer. Por otra mujer.
Taking a little chocolate chip cookie and iced espresso break. So good. So I've finished most of the electrical component and wiring installation. Next up is to install the two big 270 amp hour batteries, and then wire them together and fuse them to the main input of the system. And just hope everything works. I haven't tested anything yet. Zero tests if any of the wires are working correctly or if any of the systems turn on. Kind of just hoping. Yeah, so wish me luck. god, I just turned the system on. That was both terrifying and so exciting. I have a visual of the system here. I don't know what any of this means yet, but this is pretty sweet. So now I just got to figure out what all this does and how to program it and set it up so that I can turn on the solar system, turn on the inverter charger, start putting fuses into the distribution blocks. I also added a battery heater down at the bottom here, so if the battery goes under freezing, I can still charge in freezing conditions. Okay, I'm going to try to turn the solar isolator switch to on, which should enable the solar panels to actually charge the batteries. The batteries are full, I think, right now, so I might not see anything, but see what happens. Okay, I think it recognized the solar panels. I'm so stoked. This was so much work. Between all of the planning and all of the pre-wiring and all the money, this was crazy expensive. I turned it on, no sparks, no fires. I don't know if it's working. I haven't really tested any loads yet, but it seems to be working. I think it's working. I just plugged in the shore power outlet, so I'm plugged into the garage here. And so the multi-plus is in charger mode. So I can see I'm pulling 1,730 watts from the electrical grid. And so my battery is very quickly charging here. It's already up to 14 volts. So I want to fully charge the battery just to get a calibration to make sure the charge level is synced and so it knows that it's fully charged. Okay, so I'm about to test one of the outlets that I installed. So this is a 12 volt USB and USB-C outlet. So I'm going to turn the main power switch on. Yes! So dope. Okay, so for both the maxxair fans, I'm going to use these 10 amp blade fuses. So this is what I'm doing here. I can see which circuit my maxxair fans are on. So they're on, the front maxxair fan is on circuit 2, rear maxxair fan is on circuit 3. So there's fuses in for circuit 2 and 3. Rear fan works. Nice. That's dope. Front fan works. I got 2 fans running now. So cool. And this is blowing a lot of air in. I can really feel that. Alright, I'm going to run a quick test for the exterior utility lights that I installed. So I don't have the walls up yet, which makes the switches a little awkward, but I installed this switch for the outdoor lights. I think I wired this up correctly. So now I'm going to put a 5 amp fuse into my passenger upper DC fuse block and test this out and see if that switch works. And the LEDs are working. Let's go. So cool. Let's test the switch. So the idea with these lights is once I pull the awning out, I'll have some outdoor light. And they're amber colored, which just makes it a little nicer for night vision and for attracting bugs. Really glad that worked. It would have sucked if I drilled all those holes and did all that and they didn't turn on. So all my tests have gone super well so far. This is like, it's going way better than expected, honestly. It's dope.
wired in my first 120 volt outlet right over here. So this is a GFCI 120 volt outlet that helps with like short circuit protection, I guess in like wet environments. And then I also installed this 12 volt cigarette style outlet over here in the garage area. Here's a look at the back. And now I'll turn on the inverter. I can see that green light indicating that power's on. So now I'm going to switch the master 50 amp breaker switch. And then the breaker switch to this 120 volt outlet that I just installed in the garage area. And the 120 volt also working. Alright, so after a very long day, I've officially got Starlink set up. Very, very excited about it. So when I flick this switch right here, it turns my Starlink on and off. When it's on, it draws around like 4 to 6 amps. And it's a DC converted Starlink, so instead of plugging it into a 120 volt outlet, I actually have a DC booster, so the idle amperage draw is really low. So it's an efficient way of running it, and it makes it very easy to have a switch so I can toggle it on and off. Just to show you, so I'm parked in a redwood forest right now at home. There's a lot of obstruction. I was surprised I got any service at all here, but just to run a quick speed test. Now it's around 200 Mbps download, which is absolutely insane. Like, that's crazy, crazy fast. At 24 millisecond latency. So that's fast enough to game. So submit a forever, like literally video within a video. That's part of this fan build. But it's fast. I mean, wherever I skip, it's like loading instantly at high quality. This is very fast internet. So here's my finished electrical enclosure. Got these installed earlier today. 120 volt outlet and a 12 volt outlet on the back. So I can open up this access hatch. And this is where I mounted my Starlink router. So it's really nice, kind of out of the way here. And let's see if I can poke you in and show you. Against the back wall there is the DC converter. So instead of using the standard plug, I'm converting the 12 volt power up to the DC voltage required for the Starlink, and then it's just wired directly into the Starlink along with the satellite data cable up top. And then these wires run out of here. I used leftover solar wire and just any of the 10 gauge wire I could find, so I kept splicing them together. But it works, it'll be behind a wall, whatever. And when it is on, there is a wattage draw. Right now it's around 4 amps, 60-ish watts. Part of the reason why I wanted to build such a big electrical system was exactly for this reason. So I could just run Starlink and work remotely off-grid for a long time with solar panels and with alternator charging. So I'm getting close to finishing this entire system here. Here's what the inside of that outlet wiring looks like on this side. And I also got kind of a steampunk vibe on the outside with these new vents that I added. Pretty dope though. Pretty cool to have my own internet system in here. Alright, so I just installed this GFCI kitchen outlet, and so I can plug in an iPad to test it. So that starts charging. Nice. And I was able to find these kind of adjustable, they're called one gang adjustable outlets that I can mount flat to these studs that I put in, or these like furring strips, and I can adjust how far forward or back the outlet is. There's so many little things to do, but I'm chugging along. I'm getting there. It's going well. Next up, wiring in this 60-minute timer switch. So I'm just going to run the hot wire through this circuit, up through here, and then the load wire back out into this box to power this outlet. Go in and out. All right, I'm about to turn this on. I'm stressing. If everything goes correctly, turning this timer switch on is going to activate the outlet down here. There we go. That turned on. Now it's off. Let's go.